Alright guys, sit back, strap up, because we have an action-packed Stadia news video today. We have 6 new pro games coming to Stadia for the month of November. Uplay Plus has officially been announced for Stadia, and we have a bunch of details we have to comb through on that. And Cyberpunk sees yet another delay, my goodness. So make sure you're subscribed for your daily roundup of Stadia and cloud gaming news, as I have content every single day on this channel. And hit that like button so we help that algorithm find us some more Stadians out there. Let's start with these 6 pro games coming to Stadia, starting with the newest titles in Sniper Elite 4. This is bringing more of that same sniping fun that you're used to with the franchise, but this is a very fun game that I've gotten to dive into myself. The level design can have you doing things in various ways and tackling them very differently. Game features full-on co-op with up to 4 players, and it does feature full player versus player competitive modes. So it's a game that definitely has a lot of magic happening, and it's a relatively well-rated title. It's a solid game and probably the gem out of this month's pro lineup. Then we have Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek, which is the sequel to the original game but takes place prior to the first game. From all accounts that I've read, this title is a bit different. You're still solving puzzles, but the game gives you no hand-holding whatsoever. This will be an interesting title to check out for sure. Then we have The Gardens Between, a puzzle adventure indie game that is well received with over 1,000 positive user reviews. The game features a storybook-inspired art style, puzzles that require a lot of manipulation. It has a very simple UI and controls, and it also has a very personal and meaningful story. It looks like another neat indie puzzle game that the family can enjoy. Now that rounds up the 3 newest games not on the platform currently. The other pro games on the list are Risk of Rain 2, which I'm very happy to see, but admittedly it's a bit of a bummer for those who just recently bought this title, because it's not an older game, as it's only been on the platform for just a bit. So I'm not happy for those users, but for the rest of us who don't have this game, it's one of the top 3 indie games on Stadia, period. Now the other 2 titles on this list are Republic and Sundered Eldritch Edition. Once again, these are solid games this month, and that does bring the total to 6 games overall for the month of November, and it really adds to the value of Stadia Pro. Overall, this is a good selection of games that I do think will be complementing the rest of the titles that we will be seeing in November, as we do have some of Stadia's biggest titles coming. But of course, these 6 games are not really blowing it out of the water in my opinion, but it's not that bad of a lineup either. The last thing to note though is that to make sure that you guys claim Just Shapes and Beats, Metro Last Light Redux, Strange Brigade, and West of Loathing, as they are leaving the Stadia Pro lineup on November 1st. Alright, so Stadia announced a few more things here on top of the pro games, and it's some sales, but something here that definitely stood out is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is releasing on Stadia at a reduced price on October 28th at only $38.99, which is insane. I will be picking up this game personally. It was the game of the year for 2019, and it's great to see it at such a discounted price, and I'm looking forward to dying a lot here very soon. As for the rest of the sales here, they're mostly Dead by Daylight sales featuring cosmetics, things of that nature, so I'm going to let you guys judge for yourself if it's worth it. But we do have a small sale here for Super Hot and Super Hot Mind Control Delete. Both are nice sales and would say they are worth it for those prices. Right, so we have some huge news to uncover, and we have quite a bit to dissect here. Uplay Plus, the much anticipated subscription service, has now been officially announced for Stadia, only it's being rebranded as Ubisoft Plus going forward. Now on the press release, it states here that it will launch on November 10th on Luna 1st, then launch by the end of the year on Stadia. The price coming in here will be $14.99, and you will have access to Ubisoft Plus through the PC. So essentially, you'll be subscribing to the normal Ubisoft Plus, where you do get access to the 100 games, but you can take your subscription and use it on Stadia as well as Luna. You will not need Stadia Pro, by the way. This has also been confirmed. So you could play Ubisoft games without Stadia Pro on Stadia. The list of games will also include the newest titles launching here in the coming weeks and months, like Watch Dogs Legion, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Immortals Phoenix Rising, and I'm guessing the newest titles of next year like Far Cry and so on. Now there is a couple things that I want to go ahead and explain a little bit further for clarity's sake. Stadia more than likely will not have access to the 100 games, but whatever the games that are currently on Stadia. This also includes the 8 games that were announced a few weeks back, as well as the current Ubisoft titles. There will also be cross progression with the new Ubisoft Connect. If you guys missed my announcement last week of all this, your Ubisoft saves and progress will now be tracked through the new Ubisoft Connect website. So essentially, you could do your entire playthrough of Watch Dogs Legion or just some of it and then transfer that over to the PC or even Xbox or PlayStation, or as well as even Luna. Ubisoft is trying to take all their titles and have it under one umbrella. 2, you will be having to pay essentially full price for Ubisoft Plus. And if you are only using Stadia as your main platform, you will have to weigh this if the subscription is worth it for you, because you won't be receiving the full 100 titles that you usually get on PC with Stadia, but you do have access of that library on other platforms, mainly the PC and whatever Luna is going to have. Now, something to know, if Luna has a game that Stadia doesn't have, or vice versa, you would be able to play on both of those platforms free with just your Ubisoft Plus subscription. Now, that last sentence I just said, I still need a little bit more official clarity on, but I'm guessing that is exactly how it works for Luna. But on Stadia's end, that is how it works, because you don't need Stadia Pro to access Ubisoft Plus. I am guessing that will also be the case with Luna. The last 2 things I want to know is, once again, I want to repeat, there will be cross progression. I do want to emphasize this because if you play on Stadia on any of the upcoming games like Valhalla, Phoenix Rising, you can continue that exact playthrough on another platform, and it works in reverse as well. If you play on PC or Luna, then you can come over and play it on Stadia exactly where you left off. Alright, and this last point that I want to make is that outside of how I feel about this, I think in one regards this is really good for Stadia, because as a former PC gamer, I've always wanted to be more mobile. So now the other PC gamers out there will now have that opportunity to test out Stadia completely free and play Ubisoft titles on the platform. Guys, this is a good thing because it might have more users on Stadia, and it's something that I did want to highlight, as I'm guessing you won't hear much about this, but it's something to point out, as I fully expect a lot of new people testing out Stadia when this launches sometime this year. As for my overall feelings of this entire thing of Ubisoft Plus, I like the concept of the cross progression and how I will be able to use it for my PC as well as Luna and Stadia. But the only somewhat negative thing I really feel I want to point out is if you're using the Stadia platform as your only go-to for gaming, I do feel you get a little bit cheated with that $14.99 price tag, as there just won't be as many games. Keep in mind though, you will have access to brand new titles that launch at $60 for only $15 a month. You just won't own those games, but the progression will always be saved if you end up picking it back up. So in general, this is amazing value overall, but at the same time, I just want to make sure that I point that out for you guys. Either way, I'm looking forward to seeing Ubisoft Plus launch on Stadia, and well, we have about an 8-week window after that November 10th date to see when it finally does launch. Whenever that happens, stay tuned to the channel, as I will have full coverage for you guys. So I'm finishing up this video, and lo and behold, this news comes in, and it looks as though Cyberpunk 2077 has been delayed yet again. At first I had to make sure I wasn't being punked, or that it wasn't April 1st, but it's true, the game is being delayed until December 10th of this year for all platforms. Reason being, they need more time to work out the kinks, and that 21 days will make a big difference for them. As a gamer, man, I'm 100% disappointed here and a little confused. Never seen a game delayed so much, then get delayed so close to its release date after seeing all the other delays. This is pretty crappy news, but it will leave more time for games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and other titles. So while crappy news, there is kind of a silver lining for me on a personal level, but I do feel bad for those who have booked time off of work for this title, as there will definitely be an outcry, in my opinion, this time around. And I'm not so sure they won't receive some flack finally, but here we go, guys. Alright, my goodness, this was an action-packed Stadia news video, chock full of things that I'm interested in definitely hearing your thoughts about, guys. We have 6 Stadia Pro games. Are you guys happy about these titles, and what are you guys looking forward to the most? What are your thoughts on Ubisoft Plus, and are you guys happy with that $14.99 price tag? And finally, guys, are you as bummed as I am about that Cyberpunk news? Oh lord. Anyways, let me know all that down below. Do me a favor and hit that like button, guys. It's so helpful. Subscribe if you're brand new as well. Like always, guys, I'm Sunny, and I'll see you guys in the cloud.